Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. Hope everybody had a fabulous Memorial Day weekend. You are joining in the conversation today where we are talking about what kind of woman are you? I would like to introduce our fabulous panelists today. We have Mitra, Brandy, Alicia, Tanuja, and Tao. Ladies, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate it very much. Before we get started on our conversation, I also want to kind of remind you guys that this is a conversation. It's an interactive talk show. So if we have questions, that kind of thing that we're asking, and you have a response, please, the questions are going out to you as well. And then if you have any questions for us, again, posting it in the comments. And also to let you know, like last time we have a giveaway. So you see down here in the front, you've got the Nerdy Girl office set. So there is a set of file folders and a notebook and pens. So every time that you comment in there, you actually get an opportunity to join into the drawing for that. So yay, thank you. All right, so we are talking about what kind of woman are you? And there actually was a different topic that I had originally planned for this month's episode, and then we were talking about something randomly in our Facebook chat, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. That is what we're talking about. This is our topic. And so when you guys read that, like, what kind of woman are you? There's all sorts of different intonations that you can inflect in there, like, what kind of woman are you? Or what kind of woman are you? And we talked about all the different things that kind of like end us up feeling, guilty and feel shamed and that kind of thing. So just what were some of the things that for you guys, when you see that and what we've been talking about, kind of flares up for you? I know Brandy was very passionate this morning.
I came in on fire. Well, like for me, so I had like a realization this morning that the way we look at someone, it can be kind of glass half full or half empty sort of thing. What I mean by that is like my recent situation is I'm recently divorced. Well, you can look at that two ways. Oh my gosh, she's divorced, like poor pitiful her. Or oh my gosh, she's independent. That's great. Are we still going good? Anyway, so recently I heard that one of my friends was talking about my situation that, oh, she's not doing so hot, she's divorced, she still has boxes in her home. Well, how about we flip that? How about we start here in our heads and in our hearts how we perceive a situation, because that's really not right to start that kind of stigma for someone. So really a great alternative would be for her to say, you know what, good for you, courageous, you're independent, and start that way instead of starting something, I can almost start rumors,
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, I still have boxes in my place, no shame.
That's the kind of woman she is. It's like, my thought came to mind, I was like, hey, can I help you unbox one of those?
Thank you. Well, actually, the reason it's in boxes is because there's furniture that needs to be made, so if you're handy, sure, why not? I tried, and anyway. So yeah, I think that's where it should start, is here and here, and then let's lift people up. We want to empower women, but why don't we start with ourselves? And I think I'm probably guilty of that too, not really thinking about that before, because we live in the South where we're like, oh, bless your heart, honey. Well, that is a load of. Let's leave that out of our language.
They're not really blessing you.
Yeah, not being blessed there.
So
let's look at a situation and look at it as the glass is full instead of half empty. And instead, if we have a negative thought about someone, even if it's truth, forget it. Look at a positive side of it. Just say same thing.
But it starts with you, which
starts
is the key word that you said earlier.
Here's a popular one: single mom. Oh, bless her heart. She's a single mom. That girl's rocking. Man, she's holding 2 jobs. Good for her. Kudos. Let's change it with her. Anyway, you can tell I was on fire this morning. I was like, rah!
Yeah.
I think explicitly it is a derogatory question, and then implicitly the question that's being asked is,
explain yourself.
I'm gonna put it out there. Are you a slut?
Right?
Right? I mean, that's the kind of implicit question that's being asked, and I hate to be so provocative with that word, but it made me wonder, like, how do we define the word slut? I think women that are not one certain way sexually are totally categorized as that word.
Labeled right away.
Yeah, that kind of woman.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
I used to slut shame people.
Right?
I feel like I did. And then I heard somebody talking about me. Well, I didn't hear them directly, but I heard through people. And I was just like, wow, that really sucks.
That's not the
and it's not
definition,
even true.
Right.
So,
So we have to be careful with what we say and what we think.
So,
no, absolutely.
I mean, but what is a slut? I mean, has anyone asked themselves that? Like, I'm really curious. Like,
I think everyone probably thinks of that word differently. I think based on our background and where we were raised.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Because it could be so many different things if you really delve into it. I mean, is that person a nymphomaniac? I mean, if she's getting pleasure from it, is she technically a slut? Is she a sex worker? You know, in parts of the world, in third world countries, they're not prostitutes. They're sex workers. I mean, they are. That's how they're making income for their family.
Right, and they're held at different standards, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I think it just becomes a word that you kind of use whenever you want. I think it is in a really negative sense.
Absolutely.
But I could have a lot of respect for someone who does it for their kids, who has to do it for their family. I don't judge, and I think that goes back to who the kind of woman that I am. Is that I'm the kind of girl or the kind of woman that says live and let live. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to live, so don't tell me how to live. So I always come from that point of view. I'm not judgmental. I'm not going to throw, shade at anyone, because you know what? Everyone has a backstory. So I always keep that in mind. Everyone has a story.
Absolutely.
So like when you come to someone, they came to that point in their life.
Absolutely.
For a reason.
For a reason.
Yeah. Because I think, well, I haven't used that word, I don't think, since high school. So that's just that's not something that I just throw out there. But I agree with you is when I look at somebody, and a lot of people have this difficulty when they meet somebody and they already have a thought formed in their head or, some kind of judgment. It's hard to step back and say, okay, let me put myself in their shoes. Why are they behaving this way? Or why are they, you know what I mean? Why are they saying these things? So, when I meet people and they come across as very negative, their vibe is negative, I know this sounds crazy, but I think, okay, well, is there something wrong? Is there something I can help you with? So usually I'll turn around, and rather than me react negatively to a negative person, let me try to turn it around and say, okay, well then, is there something I can help you with? Are you having a bad day? Is there something that's meaningful that's happening to you? So I look at it that way, and I agree with you, is let's put ourselves in the other person's shoes before we cast judgment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, everyone has a different story.
Well, like for me, it was kind of like when we started the original conversation with this too, is that it's like there are questions that, like for me, I hate being asked. Like like when you first meet somebody and you're starting out that conversation, like that question's going to come up, and for me, it's the whole like, so do you have kids?
Oh, yes.
And it's like I hate that question,
Yes.
or are you married? Like, are you married? So like questions that I've
Or why
hated.
aren't you married if you're not married?
Right,
What's wrong
exactly.
with you?
Exactly.
Like that. Mine recently has been, do you have any children yet?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So that's kind of heavy for me, because it's like I know in my heart that we all have a duty to a child, to many children, whatever. It could be your niece and nephews, which I've, raised by, with in the bottom of my heart, like my own children. But I don't, I can't put that on my resume. It's not like I can't, I don't have the Mother's Day to celebrate that for myself, but. It doesn't matter. I hold that gratification in my heart like a mother would, but how do I explain that in that answer? What kind of woman am I?
I'm an aunt.
That,
I know, exactly.
Or what kind of aunt am I?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. It's just,
Maybe the better thing is to say, rather than say, well, do you have kids yet? Rather than say, you know what, maybe the best thing to ask is, am I interested in having children? Like, educate that person. Educate that person and say, you know what, I know you're interested in my well-being and my life, but how about you ask it in this way? And I think it would be better taken.
Yeah, I don't mind the whole, like, are you thinking of having kids? Are y'all thinking of adoption? I don't mind that so much, but when they just automatically assume, it comes across really disparaging.
Why don't you?
Why
don't you have kids?
I really want to just kind of like pop in and say, first of all, Lakeisha, thank you so much for joining in on the conversation. I know that you weren't able to be with us today. So Lakeisha is telling us, she's like, Alicia, I agree, live and let live. You don't know someone else's story. Absolutely. And she also, Reggie, thank you for joining. Christina, thank you for joining. I think I also saw that Connie joined. Thank you so much for joining in and watching us today. Mike, if you could scroll down, because I can't see what else Lakeisha had said. Thank you. Yes, whenever a woman is comfortable with and in her body, people are automatically going to label her as a slut. Exactly, depending on that whole behavior that you have. And like for me, with those questions that I don't like being asked, because for me, I just don't know, because that question, they don't know that question is going to off-put me. They don't know, and so then turning around and then like, like for me, I feel like how would I feel if I had asked somebody that question and they came at me with that, it's like, now do I feel like my back's up against a wall? Like, there has to be that way that we can kind of approach that, and that isn't the only question, because then, like I said, just using that as the example is like the way in which we judge. And I know that, like, too, what we had this morning, you talking about, like, for me, I just, other people I just don't care. And for me, I know that, do we honestly, if we go to the very root of where the judgment first started, do we truly not care? Do we just turn around, like, we assess, like, how do we feel right now? And am I going to care? Because for me, I know that I eventually get to that place of not caring, but at first, when that judgment comes across, it's like, oh, wow.
It hits you.
Yeah.
And then you reassess your answer, and then you reassess your life, and you're like, I'm cool, I'm fine. But they can ask those
It depends
questions.
on the person that's asking. Because if it's a stranger that means nothing to you versus a friend that you feel like was close to you or would understand, and then you hear the question of, wow, you work a lot. If that was me, I wouldn't work as much because my kids need me. So that's the kind of woman that I get questioned, wow, you work a lot. Yes, because I want to take care of my family. So that's how I feel. I need to do that.
Well, the whole judging, now that you bring that up, is like the whole stay-at-home mom, the working mom, the wars that go on with that, and like just not even participating in those silly wars anymore.
So Amanda's joined us. She says she loves the conversation. What was the preface? And I'll be honest, like, that was one of the things that I was trying to figure out. It's like, exactly where did our whole conversation come from? And it was the whole things of just like, can you guys remember where it started from?
I don't know exactly, but I feel like we're probably talking about something maybe political or something like, I don't know. We were talking in our chat group on Facebook, and
we were just all feeling kind of like people were judging us and that kind of thing. And that's a question that I have too.
It was because Christina comes from a background of education, and so technically you've had more than 30 children every day. And then when someone asked you that, I just got really irate. I mean, I took it personally because I saw myself in your shoes. I'm a substitute teacher, and I take pride in what how I inspire these kids, and to not be credited for that effort, aside from my own gratification, it's not so much necessary that I get credited, but to be asked a question like that, it's not like you're being credited. It's like you're being, discredited, and that can be hurtful.
Yeah, absolutely. So, question that I'm going to pop out there to everybody in the crowd is just asking, so what kind of situations do you find yourself where you're being judged by other women? And I keep looking at the TV, and I apologize when the camera's up there. And so, like, what kind of questions do you get where you're feeling that judgment and stuff like that? And that's a question that I have too for you guys is, do you think that judgment comes mainly from women? Like, do you think guys have similar situations?
So my thing is, like, I feel like, I don't know if this is actually true because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I feel like a lot of my friends who have recently gotten married are like judging me as to why I'm not married yet, right? Like they're making certain assumptions about how I behave with men or on dates or like who I am as a person. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't think anything's wrong with me. I don't think it's wrong that anything's wrong with them, but I just don't feel like it's been a match yet. And like, I hate getting that feedback of like, oh, don't worry, it'll happen for you soon. And like, like, it's different when it's coming from people older than you, like your parents and stuff like that. But when it's coming from someone who's in your peer group, who just randomly like, in like the last 6 months got married.
If you fulfilled society's, expectations of you, and you married the wrong guy, that's the wrong guy for you.
But that's meeting society's expectations,
right?
Actually, it probably would.
It would suffice.
Yeah,
and they would shut
they're
them
not
up.
having to live with that guy.
Exactly. And then when I get divorced,
oh man,
shame on
Yeah, it's like having the kids because the parents insist that you have kids or you give them grandkids, and then you're miserable because you never wanted kids. It's the same thing. You know, we're always trying to meet everybody else's expectations. We forget who we are. And if you stick to your guns and you say, you know what, I wasn't born to be a mother. I don't want kids.
Right.
Yeah.
That takes courage. That takes like a lot of balls, like to say, you know what, yay,
or
I did it my way.
Yeah. Or if you like on the other flip side, if you really want to be a mother, but you're not able to for some reason, and then people get that question, right?
Right.
Do you have kids? Because I used to do that with my friends who were, married for a few years or whatever, and they weren't having kids. I was like, I was just like, why are you guys waiting so long? And that's so the wrong thing to say. I didn't realize all the backstory that was going on there with all the fertility treatments
Everyone
and
has
everything.
a story.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I haven't really gotten that kind of strife from my cohorts. I get it more from an older generation in my culture, which saddens me because these are women I try to look up to, and they're not really setting the standard for me. So it's up to me to say, okay, I'm going to change this because this is not working for me. You know, the implication that I'm not good enough for your generation, then I'm just going to have to make it better for the next generation.
the one that's coming.
Yeah.
By the way, Connie really liked the way that you kicked off the show.
Yeah, that was fiery.
That's a little fiery, I know. I know. And
Why not?
so here's another question. So where are we feeling some of this judgment from? Are we feeling it from our peers? Are we feeling it from a younger generation? Are we feeling it from an older generation? Like, where do you guys, because I know where I feel a lot of it from, so where do you guys kind of get that?
Yeah, I think so, older too. And for me, I just want to piggyback on some of the comments because I think you have the same thing. It's not so much about asking about children, it's why don't you have children?
That's the implied question, yeah.
That's painful because I'll just put it out there, my personal story is I raised my kids, my siblings growing up, and I don't know you, and that's a really painful thing to hash up. I don't mind sharing it right now because I'm mentally prepared to share that information, but like we said, everyone has a story you know nothing about, and so that's a really painful thing, and it makes me feel also, what's the word I'm looking for, not judged, but the stereotype thing, like I look like I have it together, and you don't know that I had a crazy life growing up, and I really don't really want to discuss that sometimes, and that's really painful. That's really why I don't have children yet, because I was kind of burnt. I was really tired. So anyway, please stop asking that question.
Okay, so go ahead.
I was going to piggyback off of what Mitra was saying. The older generation.
Yeah.
Mine is my mother, and I'm not trying to be like Joy Luck Club or anything, but growing up, it's just, bringing culture, you're asked, this is how you need to live your life, get a good job, find a good husband, have children. But I think that it comes across so painful because it hurts you, because you're growing up and you hear this nagging parental, plan for you. And it does come from a place of love, and it's hard to see that because now that I'm older and my mom still comes to my house and she still tells me, call this person and do this, and it's just, it's her nature, and it sounds gruff and it comes across as bossy, but it is coming from a place of love. And I think that when people ask those things, they just don't know how to verbalize it, but they think that for you to be happy, you have to follow the plan. Right. So I really look at it.
I think, and sometimes it's just, fluff conversation. It's like, how's the weather? Why didn't you have kids?
So real quick, I want to say, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. Kelly was going to say, seems to be a friend of Tanuja's, says that she supports Tanuja and all that she does. Loves seeing this and seeing her here. We love having her here. It's so awesome. She says, you don't know how much I miss about this as I missed the introduction, but love the conversation. Kelly, we're just talking about just some of the ways that we as women judge one another and how that really is kind of counterproductive, which leads me to the thing that I was going to ask you guys next, because we've taken this conversation from our side right now of the receiving of the question and how much we hate those questions or really dread those knowing questions that are going to come our way. So then now it's like, how do we flip this around, and then how do we, because again, it's this fluff thing. It's kind of like, well, what am I going to ask you now, that kind of thing. So then how do we do that? What's the best way then to turn around and approach and have that conversation?
Just change the conversation and talk about other things. They tend to always ask the women if they're moms. It's always about that. How about, where have you traveled lately? What book have you read? Have you gone to any great conferences? Like, change the conversation to something more meaningful, more thoughtful, and stop going to, are you married? Oh, how many kids do you have? It's always that same thing. Yes, I'm married for 17 years. I have 2 boys. It's like, I feel like I've repeated it 100 times.
You got a tape recorder.
Or your card right here.
I get excited when somebody will say, hey, Alicia, do you have a book you recommend? Oh my God, yeah, I have a book. Like things like that. Let's start thinking a little bit more and stop asking those.
I'm sorry, real quick. Could you hit the see more on Amanda so that way I could read out hers? She says, my son lives with his dad in Phoenix. He went 2 years ago when he decided to be in his dad's life more. I get statements, oh, I can't believe this. Did something happen or something along those lines that I'm a bad mother to let him go? Oh, my gosh. It's frustrating because he's happy, healthy, and progressing. Plus, that is his dad, and he's pretty good at being one. That's awesome.
That is wonderful.
The judgment comes from family, friends of 15 years, strangers, all ages. That is definitely a tough one, Amanda. I can't imagine.
Well, as a mother, that's what you want for your children.
Yeah.
So you want them to be happy and healthy. So if that's, he's mature enough to make that decision. I know it's painful, and I know you, Amanda, you just let that go, but it is painful. But I think that when I said earlier, let's help people along, not attacking them. Like if they ask you that question, just say, you know what, I appreciate that you asked me this, and I understand it's coming from a place of caring, but in the future you might want to think about asking it this way or not even asking it at all. And I feel like that's us, rather than being internalizing it and being angry about it, let's help each other and say, you know what, you may not think that this is a painful or bothersome question, but let me just help you in the future because you might meet other people.
And I think Amanda's answer, was great because it wasn't defensive. I mean, you said it beautifully, Amanda. He's healthy, he's happy. I mean, what more poignant response is that?
Yeah.
I mean, that is strong. If they continue to ask after that, wow, that other person is, maybe you should have a card of a psychotherapist.
Just stop being friends with them.
I think there's some internal issues
Disconnect.
on the other side because it's like, wow, she just gave a very poignant answer that every mom has desires for their children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If she was to keep her son with her, and then he's going to feel trapped, not that she's a bad mother or anything, but he wants to be with his dad. He's going to resent all, the mother, just so that she can make the people questioning happy. Like, how is that going to work for the internal family, so.
Well, maybe there needs to be that whole shift, like Alicia was talking about earlier, that shift in just the types of questions that we're asking one another when we're at, because the place where I get that question, exactly, is like at a networking event, that kind of thing. And so just shifting the question of actually, because again, it's this whole thing that I've talked about for a long time is, we're kids, and so we are like the girl. And then you get married, and then you take on his last name, and then you have kids, and now you're the mom of. So you know what I mean? So it's kind of that thing of we're
You
forgetting
lose that identity.
exactly.
That
Who are
identity
you?
becomes the mom, the wife. What I love about our conversations is that we're always talking business too. We're always like, hey, how's your business coming along? Nobody ever asks a woman, how's business coming? You always ask the guys, always ask each other, hey, how's business? Oh, it's great, it's up and down, blah, blah, blah. But nobody ever asks us, right? We have
in
one
normal
too.
conversation.
In normal
we surround
conversation.
ourselves with people like we are, so
But
that's
this
why
is a
it's easy,
deliberate
but-
thing that we do for each other. But typically,
Typically you don't. I know.
I also want to say something based on, what you guys were saying earlier. I think that where all these, awesome questions stem from is being open-minded and listening to other people. And this is something, I start a lot of fights on Facebook. I don't like to, but people just don't agree with me, so it is what it is, But I find that a lot of people I interact with on Facebook are not open-minded. And this is a huge issue for me because I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. What I'm saying is that there's more than just one solution.
Exactly.
here.
Right.
And I wish people would see that, and I think they'll learn to ask better questions if they were just more open-minded. So.
Real quick, I just want to pop in Victoria and Valerie. Thank you so much for joining in the conversation. We appreciate that. Be sure to, if there's any comments, questions that you have, please be sure to put them in the comments. Also, Lakeisha has been very graciously joining in the conversation from home. She says, I agree, we women need to support each other more. You ladies are setting the example, and thank you, Lakeisha. I appreciate that. And I definitely think that these are important conversations for us to have in changing that whole norm for everyone and how we view having the conversations and everything. We have been going on. Our time limit is about 30 minutes, so we're pretty much there. So I want to thank everybody so much for, hey, Victoria, for joining in on the conversation. We appreciate it. Lakeisha just popped in. Family can be a bit much. Yes, they can. When it comes to our relationships and children, I make a point to set boundaries up front so they already know not to even go there. Amen.
Yeah, setting boundaries is
Yes.
super good. That's a really good tip.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I think it's very easy to do that. Well, I say that. It's very easy to at least put that out there that you want to, whether they respect the boundaries or not, to do that with family and friends, doing it with...
And I think the older you get to, Christina, the better you become at it.
Yeah, I'm really bad at setting boundaries, so I'm
You
just,
become
go there.
so good at it. You become so diplomatic, and everybody gets it. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's like
Well,
not on the
I'm
table.
looking forward to that non-fertile age when they're going to stop asking me that question. You
So
know?
don't go there. My eggs are old.
I know I haven't frozen anything.
Yeah, but then you'll be like my dad. My dad would be like, "Well, but your grandmother had babies." And
Oh,
her-
goodness.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm like, Dad, I'm 42. Oh, but your grandmother had kids.
So here, Kelly joined in. She says, I guess she's talking to you, Tanisha. You're always respectful on Facebook. That is what's important. Agreeing that it's okay to explore, discuss, debate, and even agree to disagree at times without damaging a friendship. Removing a spirit of offense when engaging in important conversations.
Agree.
And I think that, especially right now, and I'm not going to go down a political road,
Yes.
but I will say that Tal's faithful. The environment that we are in right now is one that is charged, where it feels like everybody is so consumed with proving that they're right, that they're not willing
Yeah.
to listen
That's
to,
not the
or
point.
that they even think that somebody's trying to prove them wrong by engaging them in a conversation. So just know, if I engage with you in a conversation, it is not, I keep looking at the TV, God bless, that if I am doing it, I know, right, I'm running for office now, just know that I am engaging you in a conversation to learn.
We support.
Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for everybody who joined in the conversation. Please be sure to share with your friends, and know that for everybody, again, who joined in the conversation and be put into a drawing to win the Nerdy Girl office set. I hope you guys have a great day. Have a great week. Start some really encouraging and great conversations with ladies. Have a great week. Thanks.
Bye.